insane, you guys. I'm shocked by this news. So let me set the stage for you guys. I'm at PT, I'm rehabbing my knee, doing my dry needling, my squats, my lifting, all this stuff. And I get an ESPN notification come across my phone that says Nneka Ogwumike becomes the first player known to join new Project B league in Europe and Asia. Nneka Ogwumike, the president of the WNBPA, in the middle of these CBA negotiations where literally everything is on fire right now in the world of women's basketball. Everything is burning. Nneka is announced as the very first player who will be joining this league that not only is a league that runs during the offseason, but they have marketed themselves as a league that will rival the WNBA. It's a 5v5 league. It is backed by Saudi Arabian money. So essentially a lot of money is backing this league. It's in Europe and Asia. The games will be played overseas for 14 weeks and they want 66 players. And the very first one to be announced is Nneka. I was like, oh my God. Let me read to you some more details that came out of this AP article. So it says Nneka Ogwumike signs with new women's basketball league Project B as WNBA contract talks persist. Like, this video might be all over the place. I'm going to try to keep it together the best that I possibly can. Ogwumike, like other players in the league, will get an undisclosed salary and equity stake in the league. Project B officials have said the 66 players who they want for their league. So there's 66 players that they are targeting. I wonder who those 66 players could possibly be. The format calls for 6 teams of 11 women each will receive larger salaries than those currently offered by the WNBA. While the financial specifics haven't been disclosed, the potential of more lucrative compensation comes at an important moment for women's professional basketball. Like, this article is already comical. Sorry, you guys, let's keep it moving. So Nneka said in an interview with the Associated Press, she said that the compensation package was key to her signing with Project B. She said it's not something that's usually offered to us, and by us, I mean women athletes. So for there to be an entry level of equity across the board was eye-catching. It's something that I stand for, obviously. So it also states here that Project B plans to play the inaugural season through April 2027 that would not interfere with the typical WNBA calendar. It says Project B would give Ogwumike the opportunity to essentially play year-round again, something she did before when she spent winters in Russia and Poland. She hasn't played overseas since 2019. She said there's so many different opportunities for players outside of the WNBA, and that's always been the case. This is just another one of those opportunities, and I know a lot of the players are doing what they can to ensure that they can maximize on the short time that they have in their playing careers. This is my chance to be able to do that. I'm going to stop here for a second, and then we'll read more into this article. Yes, Project B is also an off-season league, but they have promoted themselves as a league that wants to rival the WNBA. When Unrivaled was coming out with their league, they always said that they don't want it to compete with the WNBA. It is something that's completely different. It's 3v3. It's all of these things. That was that, and the WNBA still doesn't like that, okay? Do you think for 1 second that the WNBA and its owners are going to be happy about this league? This is something that we've heard through the grapevine that is going on in these negotiation talks for the new WNBA CBA, is that they don't want their players playing in off-season leagues. Nneka has already signed up for an off-season league. So if it gets to the point in the CBA when they agree that players are going to get a higher salary, they're going to get, say, a higher revenue split, all of these things, but you can't play during the off-season, these players have already signed contracts for these things, which essentially means that Nneka couldn't play in the WNBA if that happened, or she'd have to break her contract with Project B. I am not blaming Nneka at this point in time because literally everybody in the WNBPA is also signed to another league. So I want to go over that with you. So the president, Nneka, is now signed to Project B. Kelsey Plum is signed to Unrivaled and has equity in Unrivaled. Now, all these players that I'm going to mention, they have equity in the leagues that they're signed to. Elizabeth Williams, Athletes Unlimited, which is a 5v5 offseason league. Brianna Turner, also Athletes Unlimited. Alicia Clark, also Athletes Unlimited. And then you have Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, who are obviously the founders of Unrivaled. Now, people have been talking about it so much, how Brianna Stewart and Nafisa being at the negotiations table is a direct conflict of interest because their league is Unrivaled. And if the WNBA somehow doesn't happen, it honestly just helps Unrivaled because more players could go to Unrivaled. Now, the plot thickens because there are some big stars. We talked about it in a previous video. There are some big stars like Sabrina Ionescu, like Angel Reese, who decided not to play in Unrivaled this season. Are they not playing in Unrivaled because maybe they got an offer from Project B? I'll just tell you guys this straight up. If it is truly backed by Saudi money, no other league is going to be able to compete, even the WNBA. No other league is going to be able to compete with the amount of money that they will pay players. And the thing is, they will pay these players and they don't care if the league ever profits. They don't care if people watch. They don't care if people tune in. They don't care if there's butts in seats. They're going to pay you an absurd amount of money. And the reason why I know that they don't care about the results is because we saw what happened in Live Golf. If you want to look at the numbers between the PGA Tour and Live Golf, where they're getting paid exponentially more to play and live, look at these numbers. So the average final round viewership in 2025 for the PGA was 2.66 million on CBS and on NBC. For live, it was 385,000 on Fox. Head-to-head Sunday viewership on average in 2025, 3.1 million for the PGA Tour, 175,000 on Fox for Live Golf. The highest rated event in 2025 for the PGA Tour was the Valero Texas Open, which averaged 1.746 million viewers, and then Live Miami, which was 484,000 viewers. So Live at its highest didn't even crack a million viewers, okay? They're getting paid way more than the PGA Tour players are getting paid. So if that doesn't put it into perspective, it doesn't matter how well the league does. It truly doesn't matter. They're just going to pay them. And we don't know how much Nneka was offered. We don't know what they put in front of her, how much money they put in front of her. And Nneka's also a player who has been in this league for many, many of years. I don't know if this is a sign that things truly behind the scenes at the negotiations table are going so bad, but it was not on my bingo card. Like, I actually thought that Nneka was prioritizing the WNBA, and I'm not saying she's not. However, they clearly gave her an offer that she couldn't refuse. Project B, which intends to stream its games, will see players competing on a traveling circuit just like golf, tennis, and auto racing. I'm sorry, this is just crazy. Like, we haven't seen anything like this in professional sports, okay? We truly haven't. We want premier cities, and our goal is to create an F1 style TV event. There's a tournament in each city, and at the end of the tournament, there's going to be a champion that all leads up to us potentially crowning the champion of the world. They're traveling to these different places and they're just reinventing, I guess, the way that they want to format the basketball. It's still 5v5, but they're going to Anyway, we continue. Project B is the brainchild of Skype co-founder Jeff Prentice and former Facebook executive Grady Burnett. The two come from the tech world, where people have equity in the company so that when the company succeeds, the workers succeed too. I also just want to point something out. This equity thing has been such a big thing that so many people are excited about. I will say, do not be fooled that the equity splits that players are getting for places like Athletes Unlimited and Unrivaled, do not be fooled to thinking that these are some massive percentages, because they're not. They are percentages of percentages. And yes, when you get equity, I've had equity in some of the deals that I've done, like some of the companies that I work for. I have equity in those companies, whether I'm working there or not. It is not as easy as when you stop working there or whatever, you just cash out on your equity. I know it seems like this whatever thing. It only works if the company continues to succeed, and it also takes time for you to be able to vest in those equity shares. Like, we'd have to do a whole episode so I could kind of explain to that, but you can't just cash out on your equity whenever you want to. The company has to continue succeeding and has to continue succeeding over time. And honestly, the biggest way that you get any sort of payout is if that company sells or goes public. It's not as easy as just like, oh, I have equity, I'm immediately hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars richer. So lastly, this is a quote from Candace Parker. She said, "Basketball has never been just a game. It's culture, community, and connection. But for too long, players have carried the game without a real stake in its future, and women especially have been asked to wait for change. Project B isn't waiting. They're building the future in a global league where athletes have equity, shape the direction of the sport, and bring fans everywhere into the movement." With the momentum that we had coming into the WNBA, I don't think there's any way in hell that they can keep that momentum going to a different league, especially a league that is going to be be overseas. Yes, you might get some global basketball fans involved, but I personally just don't see it. And so I don't blame the players for taking the money, but if anybody thinks that this league is just going to immediately rival the WNBA and put up crazy, like I said, the results of this league don't matter. So I don't know how this affects the WNBA. I don't know how it affects the current CBA negotiations. I think the people that it affects the most, and I've talked about this in a lot of videos, is the players who we don't talk about. It's not the star players. It's not the players who are going to be getting max contracts in the WNBA. It's those middle tier players. It's those players who are coming in on hardship contracts. It's those players who want to stay in the States and their dream was to play for the WNBA. Like, those are the players who are most affected if the WNBA season stalls, if the WNBA season locks out. This Project B is talking about the top 66 players. I doubt that they care about some hardship player who's coming in and out of the league. Their dream is to play professional basketball. They're working for that spot. Project B isn't offering a salary to that player. That player needs the WNBA more than they need. Again, Unrivaled as well is offering spots to the top players in the WNBA. And so that's where those players who are at the middle to bottom tier level when it comes to the like, those are the real ones who are hurt by all of this. And I'm not even placing blame anywhere at this point in time. I'm just bringing this story to you guys because this is honestly one of the wildest sports stories that we've ever seen. In the middle of the craziest negotiations for a new CBA, the president has now signed with another league who promotes their league as the rival league to the WNBA. And again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It could be getting so bad that Nneka's like, you know what? Everybody else at this table, all of these women that I have been fighting for, everyone else at this table is signed with somebody else. Why can't I? Why can't I take a bigger paycheck when none of you guys are on board? But I also imagine, like, where's the unity? Where's the unity with players? Because now all of these players have equity and stake in these other leagues. And it's always been like this, and we've talked about it. I'm sorry if I'm rambling at this point, but I'm trying to wrap my mind around how any of this makes sense. Does this give them more leverage now? Does it make the conflict of interest worse? And my mind's kind of going to like, yeah, it makes it a bigger conflict of interest. Now everybody's sitting at that table. If the WNBA says, well, you can't play in off-season leagues or we're not going to raise the salary, they'll say, okay, cool, we're locked out. Because everybody sitting at that table has somewhere to go. Everybody in the league doesn't have somewhere to go. If I'm missing something here, you guys, let me know. I don't want to overreact to this. However, at the same time, like, how could you not overreact to this? I feel like if this were happening in any other major sports league, in the NBA, in the NFL, in the MLB, this would be a much bigger story than it is. It wouldn't just be like one little ESPN notification. Now, Project B has also said that they have already signed other players and those players have yet to be announced. I would be very interested to know who those other players are. I would be very interested to know if Angel and Sabrina are one of those two players, because they chose not to play in Unrivaled. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Tomorrow's video is going to be about the NBA. Wemby and Luka play against each other tonight. Hopefully there'll be something to talk about there. This is a mess. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe because we upload new videos every single week. And yeah, go ahead and hype this video. Also, there's a new feature on YouTube where you can hype videos. That helps me so much in the algorithm. So if you wouldn't mind doing that. But this is a head scratcher, you guys. I'll try to get to the bottom of it. I'll try to get you some more information if I can. Otherwise, yeah, that's all I've got. And I'll see you next time. Uwiana.